Well, everyone, I just got done using the Samsung Galaxy S8 for about 2 days now. It's been about a day and a half. Now, I primarily use this phone. I did not put my SIM card into this device, so I was not able to make messages or take messages or do phone calls. But for the most part, for every single other thing I did with my phone, I was able to actually go ahead and have a pretty decent experience from this device. Now, I just did this with my iPhone 6s as well. And here's the thing, right? Even before me even doing this little tiny experiment, it really wasn't like me. I would say I was using this phone about 80%, 85%. I've been using the Galaxy S8 for about 5 years since it originally came out in 2017. I bought this thing I think in 2018, so maybe a little bit less than 5 years. But I've been nonstop covering this phone, comparing it against every single other Samsung phone, including but not limited to the Galaxy S22s, the Galaxy S21s, the S10s, the S9s, every single Samsung phone for the most part. So I kind of already had a good understanding about this device before I used it. But I will say, for me using this phone, it really was a decent experience. Like, it really wasn't that bad. I think the first thing I do want to state is with the display. The most annoying thing was with the screen burn-in. I really did not like it. When I bought this phone, I purposely bought it with screen burn-in because it was very cheap. And so if I wanted one that wasn't as affected, I would, go up in value. I would highly recommend you, if you're planning on buying a used Galaxy phone of any sort or any phone in general, make sure it doesn't have screen burn-in because it is very annoying. Even with this specific screen I have now, it's not even that bad. But if I make my way over to the Google Play Store, you can see the burn-in everywhere. So much so, in fact, even with the display on just like this, you can still kind of see it, which is so weird. It's like purpling the whole entire display. So that is the first thing I'd recommend avoiding. Do not buy a Galaxy with a screen burn-in. But if this one had a perfect panel like my Galaxy S9 has, I don't think that would have been that annoying of a deal, and I think that would be totally okay. Now, I would say, starting with the performance, I didn't really have too many issues with the performance. I mean, if I made my way over to my Reddit application that I have here, if I made my way over to YouTube Studio that I pretty much use on an everyday basis, or even if I go make my way over to Twitter or any of these other applications that I use, most of the time it wasn't that bad of a deal. Like I said, I don't really utilize my phone on like a crazy high level. I'm not playing super intensive games. I'm not doing anything crazy. The biggest, most impactful thing I even do kind of is go on TikTok. And that was something I did a lot on my phone. With TikTok, one thing that I love is that I can go ahead and pretty much, post on TikTok that I always do. I can go on TikTok. But this application on my iPhone 13 Pro works very smooth. If I go ahead and utilize the same app on my, Galaxy S8, it is a kind of a glitchy experience, but it gets the job done. It's not really that slow. You can tell it's a little glitchy. Honestly, for the display that it has, it's still very nice. But another annoying thing that I experienced while using this phone was the lack of gestures. There are no gestures embedded within this display, which was kind of annoying. However, one thing that is cool is that Google Chrome does have gestures embedded within the display, which is really nice to have. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and swipe back out just like this beautiful wallpaper I just downloaded. If I wanted to, I can go and swipe back to the edges just like this, and you can actually access the widgets or at least the gestures that way, but you can also use the bottom bar. Unfortunately, with Android 9, you do not have that capability. So another thing that was kind of surprising though was how similar the One UI settings panel like here looks just like it on really the other devices that I own too. Now, I would try to open it up on this other Galaxy, but it's not working. But essentially, with this version of software, it still looks and performs fairly well. Like, I don't really have too many complaints about it. And even on, I think, like Android 9 or something like this is on, that's a pretty decent version of software. Now, there is an update, I believe, available for it, but I would say that is another pretty big advantage of using a device like this. It's not outdated. It is outdated, like completely outdated 100%, but I didn't really experience those, weird features. The only glitch I was experiencing was with Do Not Disturb mode. So if I swipe down, I'm still getting a lot of these other random, notifications and stuff that keep coming up, but I am on Do Not Disturb mode. So I swipe down, I was getting random stuff just being sent to me in random notifications for no reason at all. So that was a little glitch that I experienced, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. Battery life wise, another surprising thing, I got decent battery life from this thing. Now, I would say probably from a day-to-day standpoint, would I be able to use this thing on every day? I would say probably. It's almost in line with something like an iPhone 10 that I used before. I used that device a long time, and this one was another 2017 flagship that came out as well. So although this phone isn't, meant to be, a crazy high level battery life right now, it still is pretty decent. I'm not too sure what my battery health is. I did download this other application right here to kind of see what it was. So if we can kind of just So it says we need to be at 80% to at least calculate it, but it's very strange because I feel like I was over 80% at one point before using this. But regardless, that was another big thing that came up. The camera quality wasn't really that big of a deal to me. I utilized it in an application like, TikTok, and that didn't really seem to stand out at all. It was kind of the same thing. So if we hop out over here, I keep forgetting the gestures. You can kind of see if I click allow here, the camera quality is going to be the same. I did utilize it in Snapchat. But I was logged into my other one. And with something like this, you can see that, zooming in and zooming out is still totally good. Like, it doesn't have the ultra wide sensor or the telephoto lens, but it still works perfectly fine. So really, when I was using this specific camera on that other app on, Snapchat, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Now I realized I didn't even log into my Instagram account. I did not use Instagram on this one. I just remembered. Totally, I don't really go on Instagram that much anyway, but that was another thing that kind of stood out to me as well. That just the whole entire just me kind of not even using this phone that much. Now I did try to use it more. I wasn't trying to purposely not use this thing. I've played tons of games on this thing before, like Genshin Impact that I have here. Right above here, I played PUBG before on this thing too, and I would say I did try to download an emulator and try to utilize it, but for some reason, some of the ROMs that I was trying to download did not work, and I tried it again today, and for some reason it was not working. So if I go here, if I go into my internal storage, and if I go and click on download, I tried it again today and it was not working, so I must have already deleted it. I don't know if there's a recently deleted file here, but that was something that also stood out to me. I just couldn't use it, which was very strange. Now that kind of covers up everything on a high level. Now, would I go back and use this phone again? Honestly, like, it really wasn't that bad of an experience, as I mentioned before. From everything that I tested with it, again, I didn't take phone calls with this thing, so I'm not 100% too sure about the microphone quality. Speaker quality was kind of fine for the most part. There's speakers at the bottom. I would say if this phone got the next couple versions of software, completely different experience. I'm sure if this thing had One UI 3 or One UI 4, even One UI 2 on it, that would have changed things significantly. Having that gesture-based design is one of my favorite things. You do have like a sample gesture-based design where it is something like, it's like, swipe up a little bit, but it's not like the gestures that we have here. That would be a little bit of a different story. I think that would be really cool. Unfortunately, with the Galaxy S8, with it being as severely outdated as it is, it really isn't that good of an experience in terms of that. But if you gave me this device, like, I was kind of surprised about how good of a feeling phone I was kind of using. For this thing being 5 years old, it really wasn't slow. It pretty much did everything I wanted to with it. And the Chrome thing with the gestures was the one thing that was throwing me off, because it kind of made me feel like I had gestures on a phone that didn't support it. Now, it doesn't work every time, but that was one thing that stood out to me. Also, when I was just kind of going around, I think it's something without using a phone on a case, because I wasn't using a case on this, so that's why I think it feels so much more premium. If you gave me something like an iPhone 10, I'm sure, or even if you gave me like an iPhone like 8, I'm sure I would think the same exact thing. So with a device like this, a phone that came out in 2017 with the USB Type-C port with Samsung DeX that I didn't really utilize, a headphone jack that I did not utilize at all, SD card slot on this device too, which I did not utilize either. Those types of things with this type of amazing display, it's just still so crazy to me how an amazing phone this thing still is. Now, it's not perfect. This would not be the phone I would recommend people to use, but if this phone just ended up getting One UI 4, that would have been an amazing thing. If this phone got One UI 2, that would have been an amazing thing. So I feel like a lot of these devices, like this thing still feels like a $700 phone, $800. It feels like a Pixel 6a, to be honest. Like, this thing feels more premium with its curved glass. This is a very premium phone. My complaints mostly were just my SIM card not working, which is another thing because this phone's not unlocked. Maybe lack on drawing horse, but I didn't really think about that too much. And that was pretty much it. Like I said before, a lot of the games, the applications are still updated. The games are still updated for the most part. And with a lot of games like Genshin Impact, you can vary, the graphics quality. So if you want less, if you want better performance, just lower the graphics. So that's kind of an experiment, a little update. I kind of have a little bit more, data on this phone in general and how to use, and like how it kind of holds up nowadays. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.